I copy that in
Hello
the
there. So this is another session in the OLS-MOOC Hangouts, our Converge sessions. This is week 7 where we've been looking at evaluation. So I'm Patrick McAndrew from the Open University, and I've got a team here, and somebody has joined us from the real world of the learners as well. So I'm going to give Briar the chance to introduce herself first. So over to you, Briar.
Good morning, everyone. It's 6 o'clock in the morning here in Winnipeg, Canada, and it's nice to be invited and included in this session as a real-world participant. But I am not the other.
Thank you very much, Briar, and the dedication of our learners at 6 a.m. That's really great. So we've got a special guest this week as well, Davinia. So if you want to give yourself a brief intro, and we'll come to the talk you're going to give a bit later. So over to you, Davinia.
So hello, I'm pleased to join this session in your MOOC. Hello from Barcelona. My name is Davinia Hernandez Leo from Pompeu Fabra University, ICT department. I've been working now for 10 years in learning design, supporting teachers with visual authoring tools, and also now helping teachers work together when learning design.
Thank you very much. And from our team, we've got Grania, who's also going to lead us into what's going to happen next week in week 8. So, Grania, do you want to say a brief intro just now?
Hola, Davinia. ¿Qué tal? Hi, everyone. I'm Grania Knoll. I was at the Open University, but I'm now at Leicester, and I'm delighted to be involved in this week's Hangout, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you our exciting plans for week 8. Okay,
and then to Ishai and Tom, who have been leading this week, the week on evaluation. So, Tom, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm glad to be here. Like Briar, I'm up early, but not quite as early as she is. It's a little after 7 here, but it's great to be here. I'm from the University of Georgia in beautiful Athens, Georgia.
Okay, and finally, someone who perhaps needs no introduction, but I'm going to give a chance to give one anyway. Over to you, Ishai.
Thanks. So yeah, I'll just say hi, and happy to be here again, and happy to see quite a lot of people already on Twitter. So yeah, back to you, Patrick.
Okay, so we're going to look at evaluation. I'm just going to say to Davinia in particular, Davinia, sometimes we're getting a bit of etiquette if you could mute your microphone, because it's switching on click sounds and things like that. So other people, if you make noise, and just mute microphone, but remember to unmute it when actually talking. So this week has been about evaluation, and
I think we've lost Patrick, so maybe we'll try to continue. Yes, as Tom says, say evaluation and you go dead. So, well, I've said evaluation and survived. Who's coming back? There's Patrick coming back. But Briar, maybe we should turn over to you first, if you can tell us about your experience as a participant in this week, and if you have any questions for us.
Sure, of course. Thank you. Agreements, so it's a little bit busy, but I've really appreciated the week in terms of looking at evaluation, because I realize that my organization and what my teachers are doing and what we do when we're looking at increasing our functionalities is actually evaluation, but we don't call it evaluation. We call it providing feedback or getting user input, or you know, we use different terminology. So I love seeing all of the evaluation and all of the checklists and tools and surveys that we're engaging in and doing. So it was nice to see that reflected in this week. So thank you so much for all of those tips and tools. I think over the whole course of Olds MOOC, I'm just so appreciative of all of those tips and tools of what we engage in our real world. So thank you. In terms of my question for the team, and especially because we're looking at evaluation this week, is how does the Olds MOOC team define success? How will you know that you've met your targets? What are your targets, and you know, how are you measuring them? Especially in this distributed type of environment where people are engaging in different areas and different places. So seeing everyone do the same things is a little bit different, or it's maybe harder to measure. So perhaps I'll throw that back out there.
Well, I'll jump in here. Great question, and Briar, thanks for your enthusiastic participation. I wrote an article, I think in 2006, called "What Makes You Think They're Learning?" and it was all about assessment in higher education. You know, in traditional higher education, we really don't do a very good job of assessing student learning, and at least in the United States, grades as a proxy for learning have become virtually meaningless because of grade inflation. In a MOOC, though, because everything's voluntary, we don't really incorporate some significant assessment activities there. So, you know, do we know if anyone's learning? Well, hopefully we see some evidence of that in some of the products, and that's one of the things I like about this MOOC as opposed to the X MOOC and the C MOOCs, is that we're kind of a project-oriented MOOC, and so the people who are fully participating are actually developing an evaluation plan, and they're going to, or excuse me, developing a learning design, and they've gone through all the various support that they've gotten from the experts in the MOOC, and now they're at a point where they're going to evaluate it. So for me, success would be seeing some real learning designs, some open educational resources, and that sort of thing coming out of this MOOC.
Yeah, I'll just want to add to that. You know, when we conceived the MOOC, one of the things that we did is we developed an evaluation plan, and Simon Cross on our team is really focused on that. So part of that is kind of standard, you know, pre and post questionnaires, but a lot of it would be done through working through people's blogs and learning journals and so on, so more qualitative work, because I think that when we're looking at such a mass of people, it's really very hard to get a good picture of, as Tom said, what it is that they're learning. And also we need to kind of challenge the sort of conventions of success and failure that we bring in from the standard university courses, because I think that even if somebody attended 2 or 3 weeks and then was drawn by other commitments, which would in usual terms be considered a failure, a dropout. In our case, you know, if you've attended the first 3 weeks and you got something useful out of that, then, you know, why consider it a failure? I mean, you know, then you have gained something, and we did give you something. So we need to really figure out exactly what counts as success. The other bit is that, you know, there's just evaluation of the design itself before the enactment, or, you know, what we called formative evaluation this week, and we had quite a lot, although, you know, it's always never enough, cross reviews of weekly content, and Tom did a great job in reviewing some of the weeks, and other people reviewed this week's, and so on. So we did have this kind of expert review and peer review, as some of you have been talking about through your plans and your evaluation experiences. Again, it's tricky because, as we talked in previous weeks, you always design for a specific context, and one thing we weren't sure about is the actual context of our learners. So that's something that we need to reflect about when we go back. So I don't know if anybody else wants to add anything on this issue, or should we move on to other subjects?
Well, perhaps if,
Well, I just wanted to, can I ask a quick question of Briar? Briar, as a learner, what would make you feel like this has been a successful MOOC?
Well, when I was listening to Yishay talk about the dropout, for instance, after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I agree. Dropping out is not any failure, because in the first day, the first few days, I learned so much just in terms of navigating the technology and the different places where learning happens or can happen. I think is extremely, extremely valuable for me to sort of know about where to reach out and pluck different different ideas or different information. Phenomenal. And then it just, I mean, it increases from there as every day, every week has progressed. There was more and more to look forward to. So in my own life, a measurement of my success is, one, the application in my real world. So for me, when you're thinking about the context of your learners, I think anyone, you can target this course to anyone that has a login for learners, right? And that is a huge spectrum of people, but we're all working with learners and working with, you know, sort of your whole title, the 21st century learner. What is that going forward? So target to anyone with a login, because I think we really need these things, and because we can apply it. So, you know, in terms of OER resources, or, you know, learning design and how to think about your course, and all of those activities are phenomenal ways to sort of really help us sort of deconstruct what it is that we're doing, and help us be, you know, be reminded of all the things that we should be keeping in mind when we develop a course, and sort of that whole spectrum. So I think that you've given us a nice broad overview, and you've also drilled down. So yeah, success is real world application for me. That's how I would define it, and I've already done it. So, you know, I've used a force map in a webinar that I've just given. I'm taking a look at the evaluation tools and sort of re-examining how we do things here. Professor Reeves, one of your matrices about the data collection, phenomenal. I can't wait to apply that. So again, application for me is how I would define success.
Yeah, I think the answers there is really good, because in a way, success for us is knowing that somebody like you has had success. So these sessions, the feedback, seeing things actually happen for real, is giving us authentic feedback. So you know, if we can see people making improvements, sharing them, and that's the advantage of something like this, where you've got that ongoing activity, rather than just wondering what is happening out there with the number of users. We have got some other sort of success criteria. In the sense, this is for us an experiment, that we see this as an experiment in running these sort of courses, in collaborating with our colleagues who have been collaborating in other ways, and in trying out some tools. So we're deliberately trying out some tools that we think can help collaboration, can help shared design as well. So we're in the evaluation, we're looking at sort of the impact on ourselves, we're looking at the impact on you as learners, we're looking at the impact we might have as we develop new models for shared and open learning designs as well. So, and we're also going to be looking at what we can do with the resource afterwards as well. And we're having a little bit of a chat about that with you, Briar, just before we started. And I was wondering whether we needed to run a more slowly paced version. And you were discouraging that. Do you want to give your reasons again?
Sure. Well, I like the pressure and the pace of the weekly tasks and assignments, and I know that it is a lot to do and cover in 1 week, but I feel personally for myself, if I had too much time, you know, work expands to fill the time. right? For me, I am a deadline person, so given 2 weeks or a month to complete some of the assignments, I think I would just sit back and go, oh, you know, there's lots of time. I can sit back and I can enjoy myself, you know, so I wouldn't feel the pressure, and I would still be cramming the last, you know, 2 days before the week ended or the month ended or whatever your time frame would be to get those activities done. And I'm worried in that sort of sitting back how much other things would distract me then from finishing, right? So, oh, it's been too long, I haven't done anything, so I guess I'm just going to go back to my real world where I'm already busy enough. So I like the pressure. And I realize that this is an open sort of learning experience. So the pressure to me is just in trying to keep up with other learners and sort of the that energy of people together, which I feel might be lost if it was extended, but that's me personally. And again, it would depend on who your target was. For me, I'm just drilling in, trying to pick and choose. I'll come back to it for sure. But if you have learners perhaps that really have a learning design, a course or something that they're working on and working towards, then maybe extending those time frames makes sense for them, because they're actually going to have a product at the end. For me, I'm using all of the different activities as products sort of interwoven into my real life. So I guess it depends on your learner, but for me, I like the pressure.
Thank you very much. And I mean, just listening to you, that sort of shows an example of how good it is to get some feedback. And I'm not saying that would reflect everybody, and you're not saying that either. But I think both the previous work which Dan Orr said, where it's encouraged you to sort of go out and find anybody to tell you what's going on, when that sort of feedback. And I think this week, which asks you to do something similar, you know, sort of try out, just see the value of feedback. And I think that's a great example in itself. Now, Ishai, we've got a special guest, Davinia, this week. Do you want to introduce her and to explain a bit more what she's going to talk about in terms of some new tools that perhaps could also help this sort of area?
Yes, so I'm going to try and bring Davinia's presentation on screen. Can everybody see that? That's can you see the presentation? I don't know if people.
For me at the moment, no, I can't see it. So I don't know whether there's some extra thing to be done.
Yeah, I don't know. Might take some time because I shared the presentation. I'm going to try to do it again. But Davinia has been working on a tool called LD Shake. And I think what I'll do is I'll tweet the link to the presentation. So in any case, people can see it on Twitter.
Wonderful.
Sorry?
No, good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's just worry about this first.
So I've tweeted the link just in case people can't see it. I don't know why it's not working here. Maybe it doesn't work in on air. But Davinia has been working on LD Shake, which is a social platform for co-editing and sharing learning design. Davinia has also done some very interesting work previously on Web Collage, which is a pattern-based learning design tool. And she's also, we've been part of this in a couple of projects in the past, so you know, always like having her around. She's recently, and this is something that actually Gronia picked up from her blog, she's recently released the first public available open source version of LD Shake. And we thought, well, what a coincidence, and why don't we invite her in to tell us about it. So over to you, Davinia.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Yishai, also for sharing the slide. I prepared the brief slides to share it with the MOOC participants. while we started working on ELDSHAKE, we have been working now in ELDSHAKE for 4 years. We started because a group of teachers of our own university from the Health and Life Sciences department came to us asking for a solution that enables them to collaborate in the creation of what they call integrative problems. So they have integrated courses where students were requested to solve problems whose resolution required knowledge from previous courses that they already mastered, such as anatomy, biology, pharmacy, and others. Therefore, the problems, these integrated problems, were authored by several professors of the department. And you can imagine that for the teacher coordinating the course, coordinating the creation of the problems, it was really a hard task for her to coordinate all this work. It was mainly Word documents, email for sharing, controlling the different versions was really hard for her. So this is why we started 4 years ago working on ELDSHAKE. ELDSHAKE stands for Learning Design Solutions Sharing Cohesion. It is a social platform where teachers, we call them ELDSHAKers, following this metaphor of shaking and its multiple meanings in English, where teacher communities can create designs in general, learning designs, and share them in this platform using various authoring tools. So what we mean by social network, as I said, it is a social network combined with small-scale repository facilities and co-authoring support. With social networks, we mean teacher communities, for example, communities belonging to the same educational institutions, high school, for example, an educational center, or thematic innovation project across institutions, as we call them. It could be a group of teachers belonging to different institutions that want to work together in a teacher community. So different types of teacher communities that you can imagine, they can share an ELDSHAKE installation where they can work together using facilities of social networks. They can send messages between them, they can see the designs created by others, they can collaborate in their editions, they can comment them, provide comments to the designs, etc. So it's really a social network for teachers. In their repository view, they can see the list of designs have been available for them because they have created them, or other teachers have shared them, shared the designs with them. All the designs they have access to can be commented, can be viewed. Only those shared with editing rights can be actually edited by the ELDSHAKers, by the teachers. And then from the authoring perspective, the designs that can be edited, because as I said earlier, the users have created the designs, or that design has been shared with them with editing rights, can be co-edited. Not only the design itself in the specific authoring tool selected, but also the support document that is associated to every design in the platform. So every design in the platform has a support document where, for example, teachers can document their design decisions. Also, as you are discussing this week in the MOOC, where formative assessment, formative evaluation can be designed and can be documented. These designs can be also tagged using free tags or thematic tags, predefined. rights. The creator of the design can see the history of editions. We've had teachers are really taking seriously the edits that they perform to design created by another teachers, because they don't want just to make changes to other things created by others, but we provide a visual history of edition that enables teachers to really navigate between the changes and go to previous versions, etc., so that it's easier for them to work with the different versions and provide editions without a worry of destroying previous work of whatever. And then the designs can also be published to the external world. I mean, externally from the teacher community, where from the LDShake installation where the design has been created. So once the teachers that have collaborated in the co-edition of a design, they can publish it, so that the platform provides them a unique URL, a unique address that can be used in other systems, for example, in learning management system, where students can have access to the designs, or they can also be embedded in other systems. So this is also supported, this external way of publishing the designs. So these are the main functionalities. As you said, it's combining facilities or functionalities adopted from social networks, also from small-scale repositories, and from asynchronous co-authoring support. I talked previously that it is supporting several authoring tools, and we have already integrated 3. We have a rich text editor for free editing. We also have Excel Learning, the creation of educational materials, with this authoring tool, which is integrated, embedded in the LDShake context, so that all the facilities provided by LDShake can be used, commenting, tagging the design, sharing the designs, even though created with Excel Learning in this web context. And then we have also integrated Web Collage, which is a pattern-based learning design editors that is providing templates of collaborative learning dynamics using graphical interfaces to provide these let's say, template facilities for teachers to create their collaborative learning designs. We have several installations used by communities of teachers in the real world, let's say. So we have a Catalan network of high schools in different towns and cities in Catalonia. They are working in the creation of learning designs for biology. The designs are really contextualized to the local context in Catalonia, or what is happening in the world at the moment of time in particular, and they are working for the creation of learning and design together and documenting the decisions that they are making when designing those designs, and also the formative evaluation that they are conducting when using those designs with the actual students.
Okay, so sorry, I think we've just lost the connection at the vital time there. But what to me is being described there is a great platform for actually, in a sense, looking back at what we've done with the old MOOC, and we could put all our designs in one place and share them. So we were talking earlier about another running of OLS MOOC, and you could sort of imagine a tool like LDShake is giving an integrative role. Isha, do you just want to say whether I've picked up on the right sort of idea?
Well, LDShake is already available for download. Any of you can download and make your own installations of LDShake. It's available in SourceForge. It's also available, the code itself is available in GitHub. For others to contribute in the development, and several publications are available. Everything in in the website of LDShake.
Hello, hi Davinia. We did lose you for a bit, but I think that made it up when your connection reconnected there.
So questions, I don't know if I've been clear enough, the explanations that I made, but I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, so I suppose the question that I was just outlining was, do you think that LDShake could combine with something like OldsMOOC if we ran it again to give a sort of common platform for people to build their projects on and designs?
So we are really looking forward to the new Metis project.
So, Patrick, I'm not sure if Davinia heard your question, but maybe I'll try to answer it, because we are in a different project, which Gronda mentioned also, Metis. We're planning on using LDShake as a basis for the integrated learning design environment, where we would use it various workshops with practitioners. I think LDShake could definitely be used in something like OldsMOOC if we rerun it again, but then we'll have to think about whether a single installation of LDShake can scale up to the number of participants that we have in the MOOC, or whether we'll need to have different groups working with their own installations. I'm definitely sure that if we had LDShake available for us, say 6 months ago, and we would have used it for our collaborative design of OldsMOOC, then you would have noticed a difference. I think that part of the problem when you're working in a distributed team like this is how to share designs and how to comment on each other's designs. And that's how it also ties back to the, I think LDShake ties very nicely to the theme of this week of evaluation. In order for us to be able to evaluate the design and not just the outputs, the learning outputs, we need to be able to represent and share these designs. So then, again, a tool like LDShake could be very useful in that sense. I see Davinia can't hear me. I don't know if others can hear me. So Patrick, maybe back to you.
Yeah, I think Davinia maybe is having some connections problems, but I think it's okay. So actually the point you've just been making, I think, connects with some of the Twitter questions that we had earlier in relation to this about design of OldsMOOC itself. And you've said that something like a tool which I was commenting could help with the design. One of the particular questions was, when designing OldsMOOC, could we design in and allow this disengagement pattern that we've talked about, that some people can't keep up with things and come and go? Were we able to build that into your design?
One of the things that we tried is to kind of signpost sort of two routes through the MOOC. So each week, we'd say, well, if you have the time to dedicate, say 3 to 10 hours, depending on your project, then you could do all the activities. But we tried to signpost also, well, if you have very little time, then you might try to pick and choose these particular activities. I think that a lot of the activities, again, we tried to design them in a way that they can work fairly independently, so that if you do the facilitation cards, say in week 3, you can use them whether or not you do the activities before or after those. But then again, this week, and maybe part of the problem that we are having in the low participate or low visible participation this week is that in order to evaluate, you need to have something to evaluate. So this week, in a way, slightly more reliant on previous work, although we did say, well, you can evaluate something that was already there, that wasn't your project for this MOOC. One of the challenges for us is that it's very hard to get a sense of how many people are participating. So, we have the the website statistics, we know how many visitors we have a day, but then we don't know if these are just occasional visitors passing through, or somebody's actually gone and read the papers and experimented with the tools. The only really good indication that we have for engagement is when people post stuff on CloudWorks. And in weeks like this, where we don't get a lot of activity on CloudWorks, it's very hard to know where the learners are. So that's definitely a challenge that we're still dealing with, and yeah, it's part of the experiment, part of what we're trying to learn.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting that we've tried various tools, and I can see from Twitter that Paige at least is now often exploring LD Shake as well. So we've got somebody in there, and there's a question from Bob Bridgestern on do you find, Davinia, that teachers who are geographically closer together are more likely to collaborate than those who are far apart, even though the collaboration is taking part in this virtual environment? Oops, Davinia, sorry, you're muted. Could you get your microphone up again?
Yeah, thank you for the question. This is actually our experience, that teachers that are geographically close, they tend to have more joint projects, let's say, innovation projects, and they share also the context in a way. This is geography. So then they tend to collaborate more or easiest. So our, let's say, the installations that we have for LDShake, most of them belong to the same institution, even the same center, so they can also have the chance to meet face to face. But their schedules are very problematic, and they still need this computer support. I mean, this social support to collaborate. And other installations that we have are for geographically close teachers. I mean, in this case, they are all in Catalonia, no? For the two that we have for teachers that belong to different institutions. But yes, I think that the context and geographical context helps a lot to establish the conditions for participation when designing educational solutions, educational activities.
Yeah, I seem to remember an old rule of thumb that the distance for optimum collaboration is about 30 meters or something like that. Once that,
yeah, kind of this.
Yeah, and I mean, I find this, I sit very, within probably about 5 meters of where my colleague Martin Weller sits, and yeah, we use Skype and communication like that more than face-to-face these days, because our lives just don't overlap that much. Actually, you've seen some interesting collaboration going on, and Yishai sort of flagged up that Briar was part of these. So do you want to say a bit about your own collaboration experience, Briar?
Okay, so I'm on a new computer. Can you hear me?
Yes, that's very clear.
Okay, great. Yes, so when I first saw that OldsMOOC trending on Twitter, I had sent it to my colleague Yvette in Manitoba, and she just kind of saw it and didn't think about it. So starting with OldsMOOC, it was just me alone, and then all of a sudden I saw her join in. So we work in the same office. She's just behind me, but not right now. And so, the context of having someone within the same organization definitely helps facilitate the learning, because we're going through the process together, and there's different things and different perspectives of the learning that we can collaborate on and work together. But in terms of collaborating with other OldsMOOCers, Penny is out there. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to, Penny and I and Ivana have met a few times, and I've been trying as much as I can to feed back on her her project for the MOOC skills. So it's been interesting. I think definitely working towards building that shared understanding takes a little bit of time, and it really takes an investment of time to say, okay, where is it that you're coming from? Okay, what's my context? What's your context? What's the same shared understanding of things? But I think it can be very powerful, like, you know, as more and more of these tools are being used to collaborate, and as more professionals are sort of investigating and seeing how it can work, I'm really looking forward to what the next couple of years brings for this idea of collaboration, especially because we work in language and language instruction. We have learners from, you know, around the world. Their context is all to come here to our province, but I see a lot of it happening, so that it's happening in learning design, and especially with the sharing, I feel like it's a little magical. Isn't it? The magic of sharing and collaborating. I'm really looking forward to it. So I'm looking forward to taking a look at the LD Shake. My colleague has been tweeting that the interface is yummy. So thank you for it.
Great. Looking forward to your feedback and comments, questions. Feel free to contact me whenever you want.
Yeah, that's really interesting about. There's also the challenge then of measuring all of this collaboration. So you're talking about some great things that are happening, but you've told us about them, so we know about them. But if you don't tell us, then how do we know? And there's been on the Twitter stream as well some discussion about with our multiple tools. They're realizing we've got this challenge of actually measuring. We don't really know how many people are active at the moment. We are doing some work to try and give us the best idea we can. We're collecting data by looking through Twitter, through CloudWorks logs, through the logs of things we've got. But people could be off on their own environments as well. So I'm going to throw this first to Tom, actually, as sort of have you got anything to guide us towards the evaluation challenge of sort of evaluating complex situations like this?
Well, certainly one of the most important principles is triangulation, and that is basically trying to evaluate using multiple strategies, multiple instruments, multiple participants. So trying to get the perspective, let's say you're in a MOOC, well, trying to get the perspective of the most active learners, the lurkers, the hangers-on, and as well as the instructors, as well as the IT support staff. And then, you know, trying different strategies, having surveys, having focus groups, having questionnaires. So triangulation is certainly a big part of any effort to evaluate a complex project.
That's interesting. So just to say a little bit more about some of what's going on, I know we've got a panel of people who were selected very early on before it even started. We picked some people, our colleague Simon Cross, as Yishai mentioned, is looking after this. But so we've got some people who we didn't know whether they're going to be high-level participants or low-level participants, and so we're hoping to get some of that picture. But I know from my own previous research in open education resources that sometimes you can get distracted perhaps by the enthusiasts who give you good data, and so as I said earlier, Briar is keen to have lots of deadlines and so forth. I know now from having looked at Twitter, this is not a universal opinion, and there's a comment out there that we should also be pacing things more slowly. But it's actually, how do you get sort of a view of what people overall are like? So if you ask them to fill in a questionnaire, then you're using up their valuable participation time as much as anything else during something as loose as a MOOC. So do MOOCs give us a new challenge really for evaluation? At least when we've got students, we've got some control over their activity and able to ask them feedback.
So, Patrick, I think part of it is the fundamental challenge of open education. I mean, we took a radically open approach in this MOOC and said, no, we're not using a VLE, we don't require you to register, we're not keeping any log of you as a user. So that means that it's up to people to participate as much as and when they like, and they can remain anonymous. But then that creates a challenge for us in terms of evaluation. And maybe, you know, you have many more experience than me in open education, so maybe it's a case where we can bring back that knowledge from existing open. I mean, open large-scale systems have been around long before MOOCs. So certainly there is some knowledge that we can build on.
Yeah, that's great. So I mean, there's an interesting point just made on the Twitter as well, and brings us back to our badges. And so somebody says, how do you make the presence felt? How do you give evidence for badges? And actually, it has turned out to us that the progress we can see through people applying for badges has given us data as well, so we can see people making progress. So from our sake as well as your own, and then I would encourage the application for the badges. In practical terms, you tend to have to give us a URL that points us towards what you consider the evidence for a badge, and it'll be checked and approved. So if you go to the badge page, I hope it's clear enough on that. Okay, so we haven't got that much time left. We've got an earlier question about, again, sort of the design and trying to predict what are the outcomes for people. So when we designed this course, did we expect there to be particular outcomes? So I ask that first to Ishai, sort of, did you look at what those outcomes are? And perhaps you could take us through that, Ishai.
Sorry, can you repeat that? I missed the last sentence.
Yeah, you're sending me a message in parallel, so I thought your attention might be a little bit elsewhere. And I was trying to read your message as well, so that's interesting. The question was about, did we have to plan for multiple outcomes when we thought about the design of this? Rather than thinking, with a course, there's people, you get to do something, you give them a grade for it, and they're sort of very clear about outcomes. Now we've described week by week outcomes, but do we actually have to think about those in different ways because it's a MOOC?
Yeah, now I'm again being confused with the MOOC button, mute button. Anyway, I think we worked mainly towards two personas. So we had one persona of somebody who's come in with a project, perhaps with a organic team that they've been working with on that project, and they use the MOOC as an instrument to help them through that project. And unfortunately, I don't think we've actually seen a lot of those kind of participants. So even those participants that are working through a project, it seems so far that mainly these projects have emerged through the MOOC, and people who've been who managed to form a team or a study circle actually found those in the MOOC. And then we don't seem to have a lot of examples of people who came in with an existing team and existing project. But that was one model that we were working for. The other model was people who come in rather occasionally and do kind of pick and choose specific activities and work through those. And then the kind of the outcomes would be specific. So if you've chosen a specific week or a specific activity, then the question is, what value did you derive from those activities? And we tried to set up a feedback form for people to report back on those experiences. But again, so far we haven't got a huge amount of data from that. Now, what I think we didn't really capture well is the sort of the space between these two. So people who are, say, following the MOOC quite systematically, but are not working through a project or not working in a team or a study circle, which in a sense would be more of a typical MOOC participant. And we probably didn't really think carefully enough about that kind of participation. I mean, you could see that someone as sort of, you could see it through the badging structure, that you do get a badge for, say, 6 weeks or the whole MOOC. So you can kind of accumulate your experiences from week to week to a greater whole. But that's something maybe we need to go back and refine our evaluation for that and see if people do get a sum that's greater than the parts.
Okay, just picking up in the last few minutes. So you made a comment in there about what people are doing, and I wondered, Tom, if you could, whether you've been able to get any sort of insight through seeing what people are doing yourself. What's been like this week as people have entered into CloudWorks, perhaps come up with tools that they've shared with you. Tom, have you been able to look into that?
Yes, I have, and going back to Ishai's point about the initial design, I know for myself, I had in mind the people who really did have a project, and when I initially developed my version of week 7, I had about 15 to 18 hours of work in there for people to actually plan and conduct and report an evaluation of their open educational resource. Well, Ishai and Patrick and others really helped me to see that that probably was unrealistic. So we did a formative evaluation, and we changed it quite a bit. Now, with respect to what I've seen this week, although I haven't seen a lot, what I have seen is really impressive. And I won't mention specific names, although I could, but I really invite people to go out and take a look at some of the things in the evaluation plans, in the discussion about the value of evaluation. There's some really thoughtful contributions out there. So I really would like people, if they have the chance, to go out and take a look at those.
That's great, and I think it is a valuable experience being on the education side of this as well. It's interesting about sort of the estimation of time, because I'm not saying you're guilty of this, but certainly someone was, which was, we said sort of this task needs to be cut down, and all that happens is they edit the time in the bracket to say it'll take half the amount of time, but the task still remains the same. And while that might Briar, who loves deadlines, it's sort of it's not necessarily the best way to do things. So I think we've gradually sort of eased off a bit on the demands, while left very challenging options there for people who've got the time to take it. And it's great to know that you're getting some really good input there. So I'm going to actually ask Gráinne to come in now, and because this is a chance for you to say about what's coming next, and how hopefully it won't send people too crazy while giving Briar some nice deadlines to work towards as well.
Hi Briar, I suspect you're going to be in need of a large, strong copy after this, and likewise Tom. Yeah, thanks Patrick. I'm very excited about week 8. I think it hopefully will be a way of bringing everything together over the last 7 weeks or so. In particular, we're going to focus on what I think is a really significant contribution to the field, the Larnaca Declaration on Learning Design. I'll put the URL in the chat box in a moment. This came about as a result of a fellowship that James DL, the founder of LAMS, had, where he'd been able over the last 2 years to bring a group of us across Europe and Australia in particular together to try and articulate what we mean by learning design and how it's distinct from more established fields like instructional design. And we've had some very challenging but really stimulating discussions, and it really came together when we were in September in Larnaca in Cyprus. We had a 2-day meeting, and we drew up a detailed timeline of all the key activities and milestones in learning design, the development of Web Collage, LD Shape, Compendium LDs, CloudWorks, etc., as well as the key initiatives, publications, outputs, conferences. And from that, we were then able to co-construct a document where we articulated what we meant by learning design, and we felt that the central research question we were answering was that teachers need guidance and support to be able to make more effective design decisions, which very much relates back to what Davinia was saying about LD Shake. And that that translates into a set of tools and resources that have been developed that have different nuances and uses. But the learning design approach can support a range of full range of pedagogical approaches and methodologies. The one in particular I'm interested in is a sociocultural approach, and very much based on design-based research. We feel that learning design provides a more holistic, overarching term and that then you can drill down into specifics like instructional design. So that document is going to be the focus of next week, and I'm delighted to say that James is also going to be joining us. Unlike you guys in North America, he'll be joining late because he's in Australia. He'll be coming in at 11 at night. He'll be taking part of with MOOC with the conversion session next Tuesday, and he's also done us a nice little podcast as well. So we're really keen to get feedback from the wider community on what they think about that learning design Larnaca declaration. We've also got some optional activities, and in particular we're drawing on some of the work that colleagues in Wollongong have done, Shirley Agostino, Sue Bennett, Laurie Lockyer. Many of you will know that they did the very kind of forward visionary AUTLC learning design site, which articulated a whole load of learning designs across different pedagogical approaches, with a specific type of representation for those designs. So those will be optional activities, but the core will be around the learning design declaration. I hope that's enough, Patrick.
Thank you very much. And just there's another, as Vinya's just said, it's an exciting week ahead on the Larnaca Declaration being one strand of it, but we've also got a reflection task, and I'll ask Yishai to say a bit more about that.
Yes, so this week is about reflection, and I think the Larnaca Declaration gives us an anchor for reflecting on learning design as a field, as a whole. But what we also want to do is, in terms of participants' learning experience, I think it's valuable for you to sit back and recount the story of your journey through the MOOC. We really think that's an important part of your learning process individually and as a community. So that's why we wanted to share these stories, these what we call the design narratives, with each other and comment on each other's stories through CloudWorks. And you'll see the details of the activities in this week's page. Now, as sort of, well, hopefully for some of you this is an extra incentive, what we're going to do in week 9 is actually we're going to select a few of these narratives and ask all the facilitators to look at them and comment on them. So each day of week 9 will be showcasing 1 or 2 of your stories. So again, and I think it'd be interesting to compare your personal journeys of learning design and what's the story that's reflected in the Larnaca Declaration of the kind of the journey of the field as a whole. So hopefully people will be able to balance their energy between these 2 tasks and still have some left for these optional activities, the Wollongong one, the web collage one, and so on.
Thank you. That's great. So this is a chance for people to bring together their ideas and get some shared thinking, and I think it might actually help people understand what's going on as well as part of the evaluation that everybody can take part in. So it just remains for me as we come up to the hour to say thank you to Gráinne, Tom, Yishai, and our special guest Vinya, and of course to Briar. Thank you very, very much. So thank you, and I'll end the broadcast there.